Bears training camp day one has begun, and we got to talk about what we got an opportunity to see on day one and what we heard from Caleb Williams that actually has me excited this upcoming season. All that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the page. You do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. Only channel talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talk. So make sure that you stay in tune with us, man, and make sure that you guys have that notification bell turned on because we are dropping a ton of content here. I don't know if you saw throughout the day, but there was stuff from the pressers today. There were clips from the actual practice on the field that was dropped. And if you're in the Discord, you got to see all of the clips that I recorded today from today's warm-ups and different things from practice. Shout out to you guys for tuning in and showing love. Let's start things off with a bear down in the chat. You can't get it right unless you got a bear down all the way in the chat, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Bears Junkie in the building already. Lord Crimson in the building already. Andy G in this mug. Joseph Archer in here. Big shout out to you. Chef Mac in this mug. What are you? Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. All right, man. Day one of training camp has come and gone. And look, it's day one. There is a lot of let's get out there. It's an hour and a half practice. They're working things through. They're stretching out their muscles, getting themselves back into football shape. So I wouldn't say that there are any massive takeaways from the first day of training camp. If someone has a massive takeaway today, they are capping. They are trying to be excited for your viewership, which is cool, right? I appreciate you watching. But I also can't come in here and just be like, oh, my God, we saw Caleb Williams throw a phenomenal screen pass. Although we did see Caleb throw a really, really nice screen pass today as Austin Booker was bearing down from the left side. He slung it right past the arm into the hands of DeAndre Swift as Swifty slipped, but got himself back up before anybody touched him and probably carried it for about 10 yards on that. But I say all that to say, when you talk about takeaways from day one of training camp, there was truly only one thing that stood out to me. There was a very interesting setup for how the left tackle competition seems like it's going to start off. Most of us in our minds, right? And agree with me in the chat. Let me know if you guys agree with me in the chat as well. Most of us in our minds were thinking Braxton Jones probably starts this thing off as the starting left tackle, and then you'll get to Jedrick Wills, and then maybe even it's Theo Benedette in there at the left tackle position. But early on, as we were watching guys warm up, me and some of the other beat reporters who were there started to notice that Theo Benedette was not working out with the left guards and the left tackles, that he was actually working out with the right guards and the right tackles. Instantly, ears perk up. What's going on with that? Is that just something that might be happening today, or is this just the warm-up period and it was about even bodies, even though there's a lot of right tackles there? But we'll see how it all plays out as we get into team periods and different things like that. Team periods start just like we assume, right? Braxton Jones running with the ones. Caleb Williams back there. Completed a couple of nice underneath balls. Nothing insane today. I thought that he did a really good job of taking what was being given to him on the field, and that was not a lot of stuff downfield, right? So I see Braxton Jones out there. Dare I say, no pads. No, for either side, no pads. But I got to give credit where credit is due. Kind of look good. It's day one. It's no pads. It's not a massive takeaway, but he kind of looked good. They got him out. He, first off, does look yoked. That part where Ben Johnson said he looks yoked, he does look pretty big this coming into this season. And you saw him on a couple of reps of pass pro. He kind of handled Austin Booker pretty well. I thought he did a solid job. And then you saw him get out in space. Even with all of the size that he's at, he moved pretty well on the left side. Again, no pads. We'll see how he looks in pads. Pads are where things are most important. But he kind of looked good there. But then the second team comes in. I see Tyson Bagent getting ready. See him coming up to the line. Yo, blood, 43rd. Hey, watch the mic. Watch the mic. Yo, up. And as he drops back, I saw a number I wasn't expecting to see. because in there with the twos was Kiran Amegadjie. In there with the twos was, and I thought he was going to be described as this the entire camp, and Kiran Amegadjie. Remember when Ryan Post talked about him the other day? He's like, we got a lot of bodies out there at that left tackle competition, right? You got Theo Benedict, you've got Braxton Jones, you've got Jedrick Wills, and he was ready to move on, and then he went, and Kiran Amegadjie. That's how I thought we were going to be talking about Kiran this entire camp. But yet, starting out with the second team, looked fine. Not going to say looked terrible. Not going to say looked good. Looked fine. I didn't see him do anything that stood out. Again, day one, they're not asking you to do a lot. I didn't see him doing anything that stood out, though. But it did stand out to me that he was in there, because we all thought you went out and you made this move for Jedrick Wills, and that means that he's going to get that second team rep. When the third team came out there, Theo Benedict out there at right tackle, Jedrick Wills out there at the left tackle position. And it was the one thing to me that today that I saw stood out, because it's the one thing that was not as I expected it to be. Everything else, right? If your takeaway from Caleb, or if you're listening to shows and they're giving you massive takeaways from Caleb, you know what the massive takeaway is? Caleb Williams threw the football to the right spot. And when he threw the football away, which he made sure to emphasize to us when he got into the press conference, so I want to emphasize it to you as well, when you saw him dirting the ball today, because there's a couple times where there was a pass that looked like it could have been going towards the receiver, but it kind of fell in front of him at his feet. He was letting us know, I'm dirting the ball. That's not me going out there and trying to make a play. I'm getting rid of the ball, and I'm making sure that it's by receiver. Fine. Caleb looked as I expected him to look on day one. Luther looked as I expected him to look on day one. The only thing that looked different was how the tackle competition seems like it is starting out. Now, this does not mean that this is going to be the tackle competition the entire time. We know this. We saw this last season. It was Braxton Jones, it was Kiran Amegadjie, and Theo Benedict ended up winning that job out. And it was supposed to be Ozzie Trapillo in that competition. Theo Benedict ends up winning that job out, right? Like, in the long run, I should say, Braxton technically won the job, got banged up in the second game, and they put Theo in. Theo, to me, right now has solidified a spot. Seeing him at the right tackle yesterday, or I should say today, it was so early that it actually feels like yesterday. Seeing him at that right tackle spot made me feel like he solidified his spot on this team as the swing tackle for this team, probably heading into this season, especially if they're starting him off on that right side, when you know that he can play left side and maybe be a part of that competition. Braxton being the one, that makes sense to me. Braxton right now is a starter. He's shown you longevity as far as health on the field and an ability to get out there and at a minimum understand the position. Doesn't mean that he's always going to play it well. What threw me off was the flip-flop between Kiran and Jedrick. And here is what I am going to start off saying. This is how I feel right now, and we'll see how things play out as the season moves along. How I feel right now with Kiran Amegadjie getting the second team reps is Kiran knows the system. Right now, Kiran Amegadjie is the one who I feel could go out there and say, hey, this is what this call is. This is what this check is. This is where we need to be lined up. Boom. Jedrick Wills doesn't have that as of yet, and I would assume that is why he was with the threes. Now, what is concerning about this? Why don't you have it yet? Now, I understand this is a very complex offense. All right, I understand that it's going to take some time for Jedrick to learn it, just like it did Braxton, just like it did Ozzie. I mean, heck, it took Ozzie till half the season, right? And he ended up being the best player out of the bunch, just like it took Theo. I think everybody should get that, the grace that the guys had last year when it was their first year within the system. But here's the problem. you have to figure out who's going to be your starting and or backup left tackle pretty quick. And maybe this entire competition is for the backup left tackle because it seems like they have somewhat of a confidence in Braxton that they haven't talked about with anyone else. But you did think coming into this season that you had gone out and you'd signed Jedrick Wills, that he might be somebody who gets a little bit more opportunity. Now, as he learns the system, as he figures things out, does he then leapfrog Kiran? Possibly. Right now, what they're trying to teach is technique, and they don't have time to focus on the system specifically just for Jedrick. There's going to be some coaching periods where he starts to learn it and he locks in and he hones in on it, and hopefully he's able to get back out there and play. But the reality of things is right now you might need to have Kiran as the backup anyway, because Jedrick already started here banged up. Right? Before he even got OTAs and minicamp, Jedrick wasn't out there. He was banged up. And so the one thing that I can sit here and say, and as we have conversations about every position on this roster, but right, like the specific ones, right? Tyree Stevenson, Kyler Gordon. And you hear how Ben Johnson talked today, when you hear, or I should say yesterday, when you hear how Ryan Poles talked yesterday, when you hear how Caleb Williams talked today, there's one word that keeps coming up: trust. And until you have that trust, you got to build that up and work your way up the ladder. Do I think that Jedrick Wills has the talent? Yeah, more than likely. Jedrick Wills is probably the most talented player out of this entire bunch at the left tackle position. But does that mean that he's going to be the best fit for this spot? That, to me, is why you're seeing Braxton Jones get this opportunity early on. And I think it is, right now where we're at, I would say it's Braxton's job to lose. Right now, with where we're at, I would say that it is Braxton Jones' job to lose. And if he can maintain the distance between Kiran and Jedrick Wills, he's going to be your starting left tackle as you head into the season, because I would assume the Bears don't want to do a ton of switching around. And as of today, I'd say positive for Braxton Jones. Let me know how you guys feel about this. Are you concerned at all that your 1 and 2 right now is Braxton and then Kiran? Or are you kind of looking at this like, well, yeah, that makes sense because Jedrick just hasn't figured out the system? That's kind of where I'm leaning at for this early on. It's a very complex system. Jedrick spent a year out of football, and you got to come back and play in Ben Johnson's offense. That's a lot to ask early on, especially if you're going to win a starting job. But I'll be honest with you, bro. If Kiran does win that backup job, Jedrick's off the team, right? In my mind. Whoever doesn't win the backup job, you're gone. Whether that is Kiran Amegadjie, whether that's Jedrick Wills, I don't think it'll be Theo Benedict, because you're going to need a swing tackle. And I think it's really good that you're seeing him get reps in at right tackle, because remember, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he came into the league as a right guard and had played some right tackle. Excuse me. Now getting some run at that left tackle position from what we saw last year, but you don't want him to lose those skills that he has on the right side. So I kind of like you still training him on both sides of the football. But at the end of the day, we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see who ends up being here, because I think that left tackle competition is going to be one that we're going to be watching the entire time. Outside of that, though, I feel like your offensive line, paired up with the mindset that Caleb Williams and those guys have right now, is going to be something where the quarterback can help whoever is at that left tackle spot be better by getting rid of the ball quicker. And I feel like that is really what we heard today from Caleb. It's what we heard yesterday from Ben Johnson, right? Ben talked about doing the basics well, getting back to the basics. Caleb Williams today, he talked about making the easy throw and always moving in a positive direction. I feel like that's really going to be the focal point this upcoming season, because what we watched last year from this offense was a quarterback who could do the impossible, what felt like pretty easily. Hey, we're down 21 to nothing. Here we go. Don't worry about it. I'm going to bring us back right here. Sling this football a couple times. Boom. There we go. What we watched last year was a quarterback that could do the impossible, fairly simple. But at times it felt like the simple felt dang near impossible, especially in the first halves of games. And so I feel like, and like the video if you agree with this comment, subscribe to the page if you have not done so. I feel like as we head into this season, the focal point of camp, the focal point of what Ben Johnson is going to try to explain to Caleb Williams and what Caleb Williams is going to try and go out there and execute. Make boring sexy. Go out there and find a way to continually make boring sexy. And you got a chance to see that on display a little bit today. Luther Burden ran a nice little comeback route in 7-on-7. Was it 7-on-7 drill? Let me double check. That might have been team drill, actually. No, it was 7-on-7. Ran a nice little comeback route. And you saw Caleb Williams deliver a beautiful ball. I mean, realistically, if he gets hit right there, it's a gain of 5. But what does Luther do? Make somebody miss. Now he can take off. Right? Like that to me is how you get Caleb to the 70%. And he talked about that today, right? It's just about making, he said he threw 500 passes, 400 or 500 passes last year. He said, if I complete 90 more balls, I'm at 65%. Let your playmakers be your playmakers. Sometimes the simple is the biggest play. One of the biggest plays of the season last year is a simple flip of the football to DeAndre Swift in that Commanders game, and then all of a sudden DeAndre Swift is gone. There was nothing amazing about the throw that Caleb made on that. There was nothing sexy about the route that DeAndre Swift was running. You know what it was? He was a playmaker, and he made a defender miss. Make simple sexy. Make the boring pass sexy. And I think that's going to be a focal point. And you're going to see a training camp where we come out of a lot of days and we go, you know what? Caleb was consistent. He got the ball there, and there wasn't anything major to take away from it. Took a couple of shots downfield. Maybe he completes one. Maybe he doesn't. But with those things, as you get into games, as you get into the regular season, as you get into the playoffs, you don't see all those deep passes. You don't see all the one-legged falling out of bounds, throw that thing up there, jump man logo all the time. What do you see from most of the quarterbacks that go out there and win? Why was Sam Darnold successful last year? It wasn't because Sam Darnold was flipping the ball behind his back to Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's just that he got the ball in the hands of Jackson Smith and Jigba, and that dude's really freaking good, and he can make you look good. That's Luther Burden. That's DeAndre Swift. That's Kyle Monangai. That's Roma Dunze on a deep ball. That's Colston Loveland. You've got this litany of weapons. I think the game plan this year is use them. And sometimes that means being a game manager. And I talked about this on the Chicago Bears podcast because people have turned game manager into this bad thing. If Caleb Williams were to come out this year and for most of the game be a game manager, but he has that gear that he can shift things into where he becomes elite, that's the kind of quarterback that I want to see. If you gave me a quarterback that had Tom Brady's mind with Aaron Rodgers' talent, that's the kind of quarterback I want to see. Heck, if you gave me Brock Purdy's thought processing with Lamar Jackson talent, that's the kind of quarterback that I think Ben Johnson is trying to mold Caleb Williams into. I can take the easy ones. They're there. Matthew Stafford does it all the time. Look at those 400-yard games that he has, 500-yard games that he has. It ain't all getting the ball deep to Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua running 100. Sometimes it's just taking a simple pass and letting your playmakers turn it into something. That's what I think this is going to signify what this camp is going to be, and that's kind of what we saw today. Outside of that, there's not much of a takeaway. It's day one of training camp. There shouldn't be a massive takeaway on day one of training camp. The only thing interesting outside of that is everybody seems to be talking about the fact that Caleb Williams lost about 10 to 15 pounds. Now, that is something that I do want to keep an eye on, because with Caleb Williams losing that weight, I question, okay, what kind of durability are we dealing with? Was the weight kind of helping you to deal with some of the hits that you were taking? We've heard players talk about that, right? I think it was, who was just talking about that? Was it Emmitt Smith? Or maybe it was Bo Jackson. One of the running backs was talking about how he was losing body fat, but gaining the muscle. And he was like, yeah, I got down to like 5% body fat. But when I got down there, I couldn't take the beating that football was dishing out to me because I'm running between the tackles. That is something that I'm going to keep an eye on. And as we go through camp, that I want to ask Caleb about, as we see him start to take, now you can't hit the quarterback, right? But as we see him in the preseason games and different things like that in the joint practices, because I'll be honest with you, it looks like that Bengals team is, did y'all see the Bengals today? Looks like that Bengals team is ready for war, brother. See Jamar Chase throwing helmets. Everybody's in the middle, just choking people out. I love it. Football's back. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. If you're excited that football is back, football's back, baby. The only thing with the weight loss that I wonder about is how his body's going to hold up to some of the hits that he may end up taking. But the one thing that Caleb Williams improved upon a ton last year was not taking hits. So let's hope that that is something that continues this upcoming season. I want to get to some of you guys' questions before I get up out of here. Again, I don't have, this long planned out show. I wanted to bring you guys the information. The reason I don't have a long planned out show is because I don't want to start lying to y'all. It's day one. If you're doing too much with day one, brother, God bless you. But even I think who was it? Was it Dennis Allen that said it? I think Dennis Allen even said it today. He was like, "You don't learn much when guys are in their underwear." You know what I mean? Or you can't. What did he say? I gotta try and find the quote. But he basically said, "We got a bunch of dudes out here in their underwear. I'm not worried about all the extra. I just want to see this team start to come together as a unit," which Kobe Bryant talked about. I love the fact that he's stepping up as a leader as well. Rod King said, is there practice tomorrow and press conferences in the morning where one of the coaches will speak? There is practice tomorrow. There is pressers tomorrow. I believe Richard Hightower is speaking tomorrow. So keep an eye out on that. Get an update, on some things with the special teams. King Booker World said, best thing from today was DA's presser. DA seems like he's going to have the defense ready. Listen, he better. Like the reality of where the Bears are at right now is you have planted your flag in the sand on we're going to let quarterbacks hold the football longer because we're going to be a faster team that is going to be really good that is going to have really good DBs. All we've talked about at the beginning of camp is how much we question the DBs. All we've heard from them is how much they don't trust the DBs and how Tyree Stevenson has to earn back that trust and how Kyler Gordon is going to have to earn back that trust. Those are two of your top 3 DBs. I'm starting to get a little nervous. So he better have that defense ready because you have chosen a very interesting path for you to not have the defense ready. Rod King said, did Logan Jones take first team reps with Caleb or no? No, that was still Garrett Bradbury. It's going to be Garrett Bradbury for a while here. I would not be surprised if we're, pretty far into camp before a move like that is made. It would probably be made post preseason game 1 if you saw Logan Jones absolutely go out there and dominate with the 2s and you felt like he was ready to take a stand with the 1s. I don't think that we're there yet. I think we're living more in a world where we're starting this season probably with Garrett Bradbury. But again, there's no pads on. We don't know what it's going to look like. Look, if the pads come on and Logan Jones is absolutely just dog walking Neville Gallimore backwards because he's probably going to be on the field with the 2s, that's kind of when you'll know, right? But you're not going to know anything now. You're not going to see any massive decisions made on the offensive line at all right now. So I would expect Bradbury to be out there with the ones. Braxton will be just fine this year. He's healthy, finally. I hope so. Listen, never take me calling a player out as me wanting a player to fail. There's not a single player that is in a Chicago uniform that I want to see fail, unless maybe you're with the Cubs. And even then, I don't really want to see you fail. I just don't want you to do as well as the White Sox are doing. But like, there is not a person in a Chicago uniform that I want to see fail. And so, like, I would love to see Braxton be the redemption story, because you know what? You got a lot of question marks at right tackle right now. I'm sorry, at left tackle right now. A lot of people are living in this world where it's just bury your head in the sand and Ozzy will be back and we're going to be good. Kumbaya. Everybody's happy. Here we go. That might not be the case. The injury that Ozzy has, the statistics of people coming back from that injury that are Ozzy Trapillo's size are not pretty. And so I hope that Braxton Jones does say, yo, I was almost out the door, but you know what? I proved myself right. I'm still young enough to go out here and be solid. I hope that y'all re-sign me back here for the next few years, because for the most part with Braxton has been a pretty healthy player. Can you turn yourself into a reliable player? I don't even need you to be a dang good player, because realistically, Caleb can do a lot of the work, especially with backside pressure. We saw that last year. Even when Ozzy would get beat or something, right, Caleb could make him right by feeling or sensing that pressure and being able to get out of there. But I think that does come with, and it's a word that Caleb used again today when talking about, you know, how he improved his sack numbers last season. Trust. I trust that my guy on the left side is going to be able to hold up his man for at least a second, so I know I can drop back and get to my spot and deliver the football. Braxton Jones was on that line that he didn't trust. That year one, 69 sacks. That's Braxton Jones. So that trust has to be rebuilt between left tackle and quarterback, and that could take some time, especially when Caleb went back out there with Braxton at his starting left tackle, starting off the season, he was getting his head kicked again. To me, where you're at right now, your goal is to get to have somebody solid on that left side. You're not going to be elite. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a position that you need to keep an eye on. But if you get solid, you can get through this season pretty well. Charlie Chu says, I need your question when the coaches and players talk to the media to be way better. All right. Okay. Shout out to you. I always find this interesting, right? Everyone hates the Chicago media's question to the coaches and players, but they love the quotes that the players and coaches get from the media. I always find that interesting, where it's like, I love what Ben Johnson said about this. I love how Ben Johnson's going to do it. I love what Caleb Williams said. But then all I ever see is like, well, why'd you ask that? You need to ask better questions. Okay. Shout out to you. Most people like how I ask questions. Or they don't. And I don't really care, because I'm trying to get information to make this show better. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day for me. Laura Crimson said, this is exactly why I don't want to see Braxton start this season again. Listen, you don't got a lot of options. And I'll tell you what, you don't have an incompetent coaching staff either. So if Ben Johnson and Press Taylor and Dan Rashard look at what you have at left tackle, and they're like, best of the bunch is Braxton Jones. I'm rolling with them. I trust them. Doesn't mean that I think that they're in a great situation. You heard how Ben talked about it. They were like, you know, do you feel more comfortable with your left tackle situation this year than you did going into last season? Ben's response was, I know them. He's like, well, yeah, I know them. I know what they can and can't do, so I guess I feel better in that sense. That's not a response of like, yeah, we feel great that Braxton Jones out there. That's more of a response of like, you know, I know what they can and can't do, and so now I know their expectation, what to expect from them. To me, that is the best that you can hope for in this situation that you're in. Andre Davis said, your questions be good, fam. Hey, I don't know. Hey, look, I'm not for everybody. That's okay. Azina says, I trust Ben Johnson and Darren Richard to make the best decision at left tackle. Sure. I'm right there with you. Juice said, I think it's more so he's been out of football for a year and coming off an injury. You start at the bottom and you work your way up. Yeah, and we know that's how Ben Johnson does business, right? He's not going to give you a spot. He's not going to just give you a job. He wants to see you come in and take that job like a bulldog. He wants to see you just snatch that straight out of Braxton's mouth. I don't know if that's the case for the team that you have right now. I don't. We saw this last year. I would love to see it from Jedrick Wills, where he just starts flying up the depth chart. But Jedrick Wills has been out of football for a year. I don't know what Jedrick Wills is coming back. The Jedrick Wills that left was a pretty dang good player. But is that the same Jedrick Wills that's coming back? That's the question that you got to answer. LBC Robbie says, stop trying to find deficiencies on this Bears squad besides the Rams NFC champs. I mean, there are deficiencies, though. Like, we can't pretend and stick our head in the sand and go, everything's perfect. It's not. It's okay. Most teams aren't perfect. Teams that you look at as perfect teams, you usually say it's a guarantee that they're going to be in the Super Bowl. The Rams might be a perfect team this year, right? The Seahawks last year were a perfect team. The Bears got flaws. But I've seen teams overcome their flaws and make it a heck of a long way in the playoffs. Was Rome moving okay? I love how Caleb Williams said it. He said he looks like Rome. It's pretty much all I would say about him. If he had never said, and look, I think he was just being honest with us. You know, when he was talking about getting used to his new normal, even Caleb Williams talked about it today. And, you know, really it's just a confidence thing, saying you believe him, saying you trust him, knowing that if he's got one-on-one situations, Caleb's going to throw him the ball, knowing that if he is one-on-one and he needs to throw the ball up high, that Caleb's going to get him that ball up high, and he trusts him to go out there and make that play. That's really the only, I don't want to say the only difference, right? But that's really the only thing to me that I look at with Rome Odunze and say, well, is he going to be able to do that? But how Rome looked today, he looked like Rome. He looked fine. I didn't think there was anything wrong with him. By the way, we are over 100 and a check. Over 200 and a check. 200. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page if you have not done so. Let's get over 200 likes on the video, man. If you're in here and you didn't press that thumbs up button, make sure that you press that thumbs up. I don't think that Rome looked any different than I've seen Rome look at any point. You know what I mean? He was cutting fine. He was planting fine. I think he's Rome. And the hope is that Rome is the one that you saw in the first half of last season, not the second half of last season, post-injury. And I think it will be as we start to get deeper into camp. Can Ozzie possibly come back during the middle of the season? Probably not. I mean, I guess there's a chance for him if he's healthy to get back out there and get practicing. So I'm never going to say never. But I just think it's going to take a long time for Ozzie to come back. Expect him to probably miss the entire season this year. King Booker World said, at the end of the day, I just hope that Madden vs. Dio shows up in real life and Brax proves me wrong and dominates. If we get Madden vs. Dio, brother, oh, sweet baby Jesus, that would be phenomenal. Javon thinks he's John Randall. Bro needs to look in the mirror. Look, hey, nobody on this team And I want to emphasize this because even when I'm talking about Kyler Gordon, even when I'm talking, right, like all of these guys, nobody on this team is not working. Nobody thinks that they're better than it because Ben won't let them. And DA won't let them. Nobody thinks that they're better than they are. Nobody thinks they're better than the next man. Everybody's just trying to do that 111th on this team. There's no Nate Davis on this team. Even a Dio Adangbo is not a Nate Davis on this team. There are some lack of talents. And I think that with Gervon and what we've seen from him over the past couple of years is he's a fine player, but there's a ceiling. You know what I mean? He's not a bad player, but is he what we thought that we drafted? Probably not, right? Unless you thought that what you drafted was a rotational piece in the middle. So for me, like, I don't look at Gervon as thinking he's too good or thinking he's better or doesn't he. Like, I know Gervon is putting in the work. I know where he's training in the offseason. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's just you've hit a ceiling. And for some players, you can break through that ceiling. For some players, that ceiling becomes who you are. I think right now that's just who Gervon is going to be. Mikey Day said, what is the link for the Discord? The link for the Discord, actually, I can drop it right up in here because y'all are in here. If you guys want to join up on the Discord, man, please do so. And I'll just pin it to the top of the chat here as I get Discord open. But, nah, man, the Discord's a good time. It's a good vibe. And usually I post all of the videos that I record from that day in there. So make sure that you are joined up on the Discord. Madden vs. Dio already has 5 sacks. Yeah, listen, Madden vs. Dio is an entirely different beast in himself. By the way, something I didn't mention, I'm glad I just opened the Discord because Baki did send this into the Discord, something that I didn't talk about as of yet. As I drop this in here, boom, and I will pin this to the top. I think, there we go. Boom. There we go. Hit that link. You should be able to join in the Discord. Should be good for the next 30 days. If you want to join up on us, man, appreciate y'all for rocking with us over in the Discord. The Bears have activated defensive lineman Montez Sweat from active non-football illness, active NFI. So he is going to be back on the field. I would assume probably tomorrow. It was something that, I talked about yesterday on the show as not a big deal, not something that I was concerned about. But because it was news, I felt like we needed to, update you guys on it. But as we head into this season, not concerned in the slightest on where Montez is, or as we head into camp, I should say, not concerned in the slightest on Montez's health. I thought it was more of a illness than anything, dealing with some kind of cold or something, that they had to give a designation on him before he got back to the field. But I never thought that it was going to be anything long standing. And Elijah Hicks still on our PUP list, but they don't think that that's going to be long standing as well. Sweat had them lettuce loosies. Bro, look, it's a lot of people that have been getting got by the lettuce. There's a lot of people out here that have been getting got by the lettuce. Be careful. Because, boy, I'll tell you what, I've been avoiding lettuce like the plague. I'm ordering burgers, no lettuce. I ain't never done that before. That's a wild move. That's a wild move, you ordering a burger, no lettuce. But I can't do it, bro. Even though I need to lose some weight. I'm not going to stunt. I heard something upstairs. My fault. I'm not going to stunt with you. There was a there was a part of me that was like, oh, you can lose 20 pounds by getting this illness? And I was like, hold on, let me go buy a bag of that romaine. Romaine been killing mugs for years, though. We need to do away with romaine lettuce. That's a full sidebar. We need to do away with romaine lettuce, bro. Literally, am I mistaken on this? Every year, somebody talks about romaine lettuce can kill you in some way. We just need to do away with it. Call it a day. Hey, man. Big shout out to y'all for tuning in and showing love. Shout out to everybody who joined up in the Discord as well. I'm going to be live for about 5 more minutes. So if you have any more comments, questions, concerns, let me know in the chat. But I'm going to be live for about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to get up out of here, man. Because, like I said, there's not much to talk about from the main day, or from the first day. Nickelback thoughts, not the band. All right, dog. LBC Robbie says Rome doesn't have as many drops as he did last year. It was a tad of Caleb and Rome getting on the same page in Ben's offense, but he will have 1/4 or 25% for you SATs people this year, guaranteed. Listen, that's going to be big for him. If he can cut down on the drops, if Caleb can cut down on the overthrows, that's how you get to those 90. When he talked about, it was 90 passes that he needs to complete, my brain instantly went to what Antoine Randall told us when we were talking with him in, was that July? I think. No, it had to be June, I think, early June. Where he said, listen, the PFF gave us 23 drops last year. I think we listed ourselves with 43. And with 43, that's a lot of drops that if you cut that in half, you're a lot closer to that 65% number. Lord Crimson said, at Pat, when is the first padded practice? I would assume that's probably going to be next Monday or Tuesday sometime, or maybe even this coming Saturday, possibly, because, we got a game in 2 weeks. The Bears play football versus the Bengals. What is that? Is that even a full 2 weeks? One. Let me go down. Boom. 3. So 2.5 weeks. We got a game versus the Bengals. Football is here pretty quickly. So I would assume that we're going to see that padded practice sooner than later here. And Ben Johnson uses all of them. So I would assume once the pads go on, we're rolling. What do we got? Andre Bryant said, from day one of practice, which group seems the best and worst to you, Pat? I can't even include any of the linemen in there, just being real, because I don't know what they look like in pads. Like, I would say your wide receiver group seems the most explosive. I guess by default, right on the flip side of that, you got to say the DBs, because of the amount of bodies that just aren't out there. And the one time that Tyreek kind of, stood out today was Al Harris was getting on him a little bit. I don't know about what, if he missed an assignment or if it was something down the field, but he was getting blocked down the field by DeAndre Swift, and I think it was Scotty Miller had caught a pass, and he was taking it down the field and just kept kind of weaving in and out as DeAndre Swift was blocking Tyreek Stevenson. So to me, I guess that would say that's where the biggest concern is and your biggest excitement. But Doug, it's day one. I couldn't tell you who looks phenomenal and who looks terrible until we see it on a continuous basis. Because guess what? If I go out there tomorrow and the wide receivers drop a bunch of passes, and it's because the DBs look like they're on fire and they're knocking the football away, who was the best of the group, or was it the best that day? So I'm waiting to see, waiting for pass, but even that with wide receivers and DBs, you can kind of tell. I'm waiting to see what it looks like after a couple of days, who's continuing to get the best of them. What do we got? LBC Robbie said, I don't think the NFL allows them to have full contact practices before Wednesday. You talking about? You're probably right. I would say there was some contact today. There was some it's just their mindset. It's Ben Johnson's mindset. They're gonna hit. They're gonna hit. And so I'm kind of always like, yes, they're not hitting, but don't stand in front of them. You might get hit. Hey, man, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to show love as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. I am going to get up out of here. If any news breaks tonight or heading into tomorrow, I will be live yet again tonight. Tomorrow morning, I will drop another car video as we head up to camp. So be on the lookout for that. Just kind of doing a look ahead at what I want to see from the day. And of course, talking about some of the things that we heard the previous day as they have sat in my brain overnight, because I never stopped thinking about Bears football. And that is probably my problem. So I am going to get up out of here. I'm going to answer one more. Andre Bryant said, who do you want to start the first fight for the Bears? I'm not going to stunt with you. I really, really want to see somebody cross the line with Caleb Williams. And just to see the response of the offense on it. I really want to see somebody just go on like a little, it ain't got to be nothing crazy, right? A little hand in the face that's a little bit extra, and Caleb do that turn. Because every quarterback does this in camp. They do that turn, and they go to walk up. Well, I shouldn't say every quarterback. Cam Newton actually was about that action, and he was big enough to put hands on people. But, like, he turned and do that walk up, and then here come the O-line, everybody piling in. And then here come the D-line, and everybody piling in. I love that. I love a camp fight. I love a camp fight. As long as you don't get stupid. As long as you don't get stupid. If you don't get stupid, we'll be all right. Hey, man, like I said, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to show love, man. As always, it is your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. Drop a bear down in the comments before we get up out of here, man. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace. Big Red Nation, are we here? The best show for Chicago sports.